Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like and the subscribe button, and if you have any opinions at all that you would like to share, leave them down in the comment section. Gorillaz, Song Machine, Season 1, Strange Times. Gorillaz, British virtual band formed in 1998 by Blur frontman Damon Albarn and comic book artist Jamie Hewlett. The group's had a surprisingly consistent discography even after all these years, with classics under their belt like Demon Days and Plastic Beach, even to their more underrated stuff like the Now Now, which I covered already. If you're curious, there will be a link in the corner for you to go check that out. But now we're here with the band's 7th album, Song Machine, Season 1, Strange Times. One of my most anticipated album releases of the year, the singles released in fitting episodic format only kept building up the hype more and more all the way until release date. But was the hype worth the wait? Let's find out as I review this album track by track. We'll start off with the singles, with there being a full 8 of them. The first one being Momentary Bliss, featuring Slow Tie and English punk rock duo Slaves, technically the closer of the standard version, which is such an invigorating song. Slow Tie's in-your-face delivery, the messy, raw guitar strumming and drum work from Slaves is a nice touch as well. Feels just like a bunch of guys in a garage just letting loose and having fun. It blends these psychedelic synths with a hip-hop sprinkle in such a bouncy, charismatic way that it's nearly impossible just to not bop with it. Lyrically, it's about these false idols who don't know what their future holds, kinda fitting especially with the release of that recent Gorillaz documentary, Reject False Icons. Regardless, this is a fantastic song. The second single, Disolay, featuring Fatoumata Diawara, was the main single that didn't stick with me on first listen. But over time, I've learned to enjoy this track as well as its earnest tones, peppy upbeat melody, and soulful touches as well. Fatoumata really blends well with Gorillaz, something I'm pretty sure hasn't been done before with the band, at least to such a degree. And when the track slowly starts to build after the 3-minute mark with the brass and strings, it feels like the warm light at the end of the extended tunnel. Lyrically, it seems to be about this taxing, crumbling relationship and apologizing for being the way he is, still trying to hold on to it. I'm glad I softened up to this one. Good song. The third single, Aries, featuring Peter Hook and Georgia of New Order fame, may as well just be a full New Order song, because saying this track is influenced by them is an incredible understatement. That damn bass, though. How do you not just fall in love with it? But that's not the only reason why this song is stellar. The heavy synth melody, Tootie's vocals sounding just so weary and carefree. In all honesty, the track is one of the biggest vibes on this album, and with these lyrics about just feeling high, it's up for contention as one of the best songs the band has released probably since Demon Days. Give this a listen. The fourth single in the album closer, How Far, featuring the late Tony Allen and Skepta, was the only single to not be listed as a true Song Machine episode. And I'm not sure how well this works on the album. I mean, it's kind of obvious it was just thrown on here as like a bonus track. Skepta takes nearly all the vocals, and he's pretty solid. He's got a great flow and rhyme scheme, some nice wordplay, but the track just feels so out of place without 2D. It almost feels like a throwaway from Humans. On the positive end though, this production is nice, it's funky, it got a nice kick to it, and I do like these lyrics too, about fame and popularity as a rapper, having to protect yourself once you gain those qualities. But I feel like this could have been just a little bit more, both as a Gorillaz song and as a tribute. I think I'm gonna pass here. The fifth single, Friday 13th, featuring Octavian, is the main track on this record that doesn't grip me that much, which is kind of a shame as I feel like I should love this. But again, with the previous track, the lack of 2D just takes me back to Humans, and this one definitely could have fit on that track list. The engulfing synth melody, the haunting piano, it sounds like an eerie experience on paper, but then Octavian's vocals come in, which managed to make this track pretty dull, with his unenthusiastic slurring just trudging through the 3.5 minutes, and it's kind of a slog. These lyrics about how drinking and smoking can be damaging are pretty powerful, but the vibe, at least for me, just isn't there. Pass. The sixth single, Pac-Man, featuring Schoolboy Q, manages to surpass Aries. How do you even do that? This is really just peak Gorillaz. The slow, bouncy rhythm, the quirky video game synth melody, and 2D's whispered vocals all just feel reminiscent of the best aspects of the band's music. While I personally think 2D could have had a bit more of a presence, Schoolboy's verse for the latter half of the track is just so ear-grabbing and entrancing. His dominant vocal tone and how effortlessly he glides across the track as both artists compare their lives to being inside of a game. Very fitting for the title, and that Pac-Man death noise at the end of the song is just a cherry on top. Absolutely gorgeous. Give this a listen. The 7th single and the album opener Strange Times featuring Robert Smith of The Cure, much like Aries, borrows heavily from its guest, presenting a moody gothic atmosphere with some electro accompaniment. And it's pretty good too. The tone really blends in well with 2D's style that sounds like he's singing through a megaphone. It almost sounds like he's calling out into this emptiness. The full groove really comes in on the second chorus when the drums kick in, and then it's just a retro vibe all the way throughout. This is a song that only ages with more listens, and with these lyrics that are about the whole political and economic stance of 2020, yeah, this is a great song. Worth a listen. And the 8th and final single, The Pink Phantom featuring Elton John and Black, is probably one of the most ambitious collaborations on this project, but to my surprise, it works, and works phenomenally well. Elton's grand, luxurious presence combined with Black's minimal auto-tune kind of mumbly flow provides a fairly effective contrast with 2D melding right in the middle. The three artists really enhance each other's strengths very well over the synth and piano-driven ballad. Lyrically, the song deals with a bit more of a heartbreak, how this person gives them all the love and gifts in the world, but they still turn them down and break their heart so much, to the point where they can still picture that love interest in their mind, kind of like a phantom. Beautiful song, an album standout for sure. Now for the rest of the tracks. The Valley of the Pagans featuring Beck is hands down the best track on this record, even better than Aries and Pac-Man. It's this crazy, zany synth-pop jam that is so dynamic and, dare I say, perfect? Beck and 2D complement each other very well vocally as they sing about this exuberant Hollywood lifestyle, but how it's also shallow once you dive into it. Also, I swear you have not lived until you hear that transition between the last bridge of the track to the refrain when everything builds up, and when the synths mimic the vocal melody. I swear it's one of the best Gorillaz moments probably ever. Perfect song. Listen to this one. The Lost Chord featuring Lee John is much more of an ominous, ethereal track with its eerie, moody synths, the smooth, whispered vocals. Definitely sounds like a track that could have fitted on Plastic Beach with its funky synth-pop tone, plus 2D's vocals having that staticky speaker effect, kind of reminiscent of tracks like Stylo or Rhinestone Eyes. It's a very warm track, just kind of wraps you up like a blanket of pure vibes, as these lyrics about missing that feeling deep inside, the lost chord as the title would suggest. It's definitely not mind-blowing like most of the singles, but still a good track nonetheless. Chalk Tablet Towers featuring St. Vincent feels like a little bit of an inferior version of the Valley of the Pagans, with a bit of a less exciting tone all around. But don't let that count this track out. For one, this melody is still really fun, which is kind of a bleak contrast to these lyrics, about being dependent on drugs and alcohol, unable to escape said addiction. 2D and Annie's vocals are really complementary. They both have a bit of a standard monotone style, but can ramp it up and show such on moments during the verses. Again, like the previous track, it's not stellar, but it is still a great vibe and one worth hearing. Good song. Dead Butterflies featuring Kano and Roxani Arias with added production from Mike Will Made It, and it's definitely a bizarre fusion. The silky piano, R&B flavored synths, and trap skittering and hi-hats don't sound like the most welcoming thing, but when that bass kicks in, it's groovy, it's funky, it's a pure vibe. Kano definitely has the best performance on this track. His flow is very solid, melding with his instrumental very well, and 2D's chorus is great. Roxani's rather short verse may not leave the best impact, but she did stand out, and lyrically it's about how this person was alone in times of need, even during a messy relationship. This is a pretty good song. I enjoy it. Opium featuring hip-hop group Earthgang is definitely an adventurous listen. It's a full 7-minute epic of a track, and frankly, I don't think it needed to be this long. The intro instrumental alone takes up 2 minutes of the track, which in my opinion most of it probably could have been cut, but as soon as Johnny comes in and delivers the staccato flow, the track immediately redeems itself. 2D's vocals are pretty mellow as he handles one verse, and lyrically he seems to deal with this COVID pandemic we're in right now, and all the thoughts and feelings that run rampant. Also all of the things we're unable to do because of said pandemic. This is a great song. If you can overlook the runtime, you'll definitely find a gem here. Simplicity featuring Jonas Policewoman kind of begins this extensive vibey portion of the track list, with this one being pretty minute, almost dull in comparison to nearly all of the previous tracks. There is a lot of foreign influence and flavor to the track, mainly in the relaxing acoustic percussion and woodwind instruments scattered across the track. 2D's vocals are so quiet on this tune, they almost sound lackadaisy, like the song is just some prolonged trance. Joan's vocals are pretty solid as well. She definitely has more impact than 2D. I can see why this track works, but it doesn't do all that much for me. I think I'm going to pass here. Severed Head featuring Goldlink and Unknown Mortal Orchestra is a lot more of a bop than the previous song. The groovy synths, the thumping drums, it's all so engaging and something to nod your head to. Goldlink's vocals are great. In fact, I dare say they sound a little bit too similar to a younger Kendrick Lamar. And 2D with his signature megaphonic tinge, plus a bit of a deeper, more ominous styling all around, adding a decent bit of tension to the track, and Ruben's vocals blend in pretty well too. The track does breeze by surprisingly quickly. As soon as you start to get into it, it's pretty much over, which is kind of a shame as I would have liked this to go on a little bit longer. Still a great song, worth a listen. With Love to an X featuring Moonchild Sanelli, sorry if I'm butchering that name, but this one is much less of a vibe and more of an experience. There's a clear African influence on this track that sweeps over the entire instrumental, even including a bridge performed in the native language of Xhosa, which is always nice to hear. 2D is completely absent from the track, leaving the vocals to Sanelli, and they're pretty captivating. Bit of a natural higher register as she sings about this love life she had. All of her exes want to hit her up again after treating her badly in the past. Don't sleep on this track. Give this a listen. It's not a banger, but it's something to get easily swept up in. And finally, MLS featuring JPEG Mafia and Chai is such a random collection of artists, but it arguably produces the best out of the deluxe tracks. The playful cartoony synths, the light hi-hats, it's a banger that probably could have cleanly fit on the standard version of this record. Chai adds almost a childish flavor to most of the song behind Peggy's catchy as all hell flow. His presence is wonderfully utilized behind this beat. He has such a fascinating charisma on this song as he raps about how hollow the music industry is and how you don't need much talent to bring in the money. This is another song you don't want to sleep on. Give this one a listen to. Overall, this may just go down as one of the best Gorillaz albums of all time, easily their best work in the past 10 years. The standard version is a nearly flawless arrangement of banger after banger. Each track delivers a new style, a new tone. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of genres. And almost all of them work so well. But just like a buffet, there's going to be some you return to more often than others. Some lack a little bit of life, personality, or just don't feel like they belong on a Gorillaz album. But this is one record that I'm going to be returning to for many years to come. I'm feeling an 8.5 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.